Stocky with Aaron Cluley and Jay Williams. 3 friends who are all in very different stages of life and know the importance of having honest, loving women around you. When we need a little extra help, we call up Miss Joyce and we ask her. Sometimes you just need to talk about life with your girlfriends. So consider yourself one of us. And let's talk it out.
Let's talk it out. Let's talk. Or sing.
Is this a new theme song? I hear it coming.
Let's talk it out. No.
Like a musical. Let's go a different way.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Different direction.
Okay. Let's talk it out. Okay, no.
Yeah.
Ginger, go.
Well, we have been continuing our series that we just started last week. So we are talking about healing the soul of a woman, and it's such an important series. And if you would like to follow along with us, a great place to start is to go to joycemeyer.org/talkitout, and you can pick up that book, Healing the Soul of a Woman, and be reading it with us because we're going to be doing it today and 2 more weeks, and some really good stuff in that book and a lot more to talk about. We are really looking forward to continuing this topic because I don't know, we're 1 week in and I just feel like so much is already happening. And I just want to say to both of you, I'm so proud of you. The things that you both shared last week,
thank you.
We're just, I don't know, they just touched me. I think a lot of other people too. Mm-hmm. And you were just both really honest and open, and I just appreciate your hearts to do that very much.
You.
Yeah, thank you. You know what? I feel like the process of healing is actually getting it out, and talking about it. The more you talk about it, the less power you give the enemy, honestly.
That is
you
very
just
true.
really take away the power of the secret. Joyce talks about like how secrets can hold you back and be the most painful thing.
Yeah.
So the more I talk about it, the more free I get.
I also like what you just said, that it's a process of healing, that this is not an overnight thing. And even when we all finish reading this book, it's not like we're done.
Yeah.
I got my healing, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
But this is something that we have to continue in as a journey of healing as we go through life. And
yes. I remember like a few years ago, I couldn't talk about half the things I talked about last week without even just being emotional. So now I'm at a place now where it's like I can talk about it. I feel freer, and it's still...
Which is a big step.
It's a huge step. Yeah. I don't feel like, I'm completely over it because it's my story and I still have an emotional attachment to it. But now I feel a lot better.
It's amazing to watch you talk about it because you have... I don't know if you know this, you deliver. You talk about it with such peace and calmness. There's a peace in there when you're sharing, and that's probably because of what God is doing inside of you.
Yeah.
And doesn't make it easier what you're going through, and it doesn't make that process of healing easy, but when you are doing this with the Lord, He's going to just give you that peace inside as you walk through it.
Yeah, it surpasses understanding because I don't get it, but I know it's the Lord, but I know it took a willingness of me to be vulnerable and to talk about it with friends and allow God to heal me.
Yeah.
So,
just like it did Joyce at some point.
Yeah.
It's that way for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we were talking about the fact that this is a topic that is absolutely applicable to everyone.
Yeah, it really
because
is.
we do all have different things in our lives.
Yeah.
And in the book, there's a list of different things, whether it's any kind of abuse, whether it is losing a loved one, whether it's rejection, whether it's an illness, dealing with cancer, a divorce, being single sometimes, can be hard if that's not what your heart has desired. There are so many wounds, losing a child, so many wounds that everybody has to deal with in different ways, but God is able to do all of that, whatever that wound is. And even if it's something that you think is insignificant, maybe it's something that someone said to you that you just can't let go of. It's not insignificant in God's eyes.
Yeah.
What's real interesting about that list in the book, when I was reading that, I put check marks next to the ones that I deal with. And I thought, there is not a single woman on this planet, women in particular, that doesn't struggle with something on this list. And it gave me such empathy for women in general that if I compare myself to someone or if I judge them too quickly, I need to step back because they have their own list of things that they're checking that they need healing for. And we are all in this together. And it kind of put perspective on it.
Yeah.
It's not just me battling my own stuff, but we've all got stuff that we need help.
We do.
need God's help with.
And Erin, you encouraged everyone last week to start really looking deep inside and
Yeah.
seeing what those things are that we need to give to God for Him to heal. And that was a place that you said you really needed to start.
Yeah, I did. And even in this past week, reading this chapter, what we're going to talk about today on boundaries and putting up walls, again, I think much too highly of myself. I will just admit it to you. I thought, I don't have boundaries and walls, but I'm fine. But I do. And I realized some ways that I have put those up in my life and why I do them, why I feel the need to control some situations where it's not necessary, and the motives behind that. It's just been really interesting to see what God has revealed to me for things that I just don't think are that big of a deal.
Right.
So,
well, we want to begin today with that, just like Erin said, this chapter that Joyce has in Healing the Soul of the Woman. And she's named it Establish Boundaries, Don't Build Walls, which I think is so good. Because to really begin this process of healing, we have to start by tearing down the walls of protection that we've built up, because they also come between us and God.
Yeah.
They don't just protect us from other hurts. They come between us and our healing. But when we learn instead to build healthy boundaries that make sense, those aren't walls. Boundaries are not unhealthy walls.
Yeah.
What do you say we just start right off by calling Joyce?
Yeah,
And
that's a
seeing
great
what
idea.
she has to say about boundaries and how she had to tear down her own walls, and so many questions I have for her. So let's give her a call right now.
Hello?
Hey, Joyce.
Hey.
Hey, how are you today?
Oh, well, I'm just excellent. How are you?
We are excellent too.
hi, Joyce.
Hi.
Hi.
Well,
So, what's going on?
Well, we are talking about healing the soul of a woman, and we have boundary questions for you.
Why do you laugh?
Help me, Jesus.
Help me, Jesus.
Let's do Jesus.
I'm just sitting here working on a devotional, and all of a sudden you guys call and say, we have questions for you.
We like to keep you on your toes. That's what we're all about.
That's right.
Well,
So what can I try to help you with?
I love the way that as you were getting into this topic in the book, you asked this question: are you resentful because you feel that people take advantage of you? And I think a lot of our friends who are out there listening right now would say, yeah, I think I do. So how do boundaries help if that's what we're feeling?
Well, I think I shared a story in this chapter about how a man that I worked for, was pretty controlling, and I felt like that he controlled me and took advantage of me. And after it was over, I felt that I resented the fact that he did that. But then God really spoke to my heart that he was wrong in what he did, but I was just as wrong because I let him do it. And that was a bit of an eye-opener for me, because I think that we always look at what other people are doing wrong, and we think, well, you shouldn't do that. But if it's something they're doing to us, we can put up a God-inspired boundary and not let them do it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like, Joyce, that you allowed him to control you a bit because of wanting to please him, like a people-pleasing motive, or was it fear?
I think it was both. I think it was, in some ways, it was a reaction to the way I grew up with my father. The two men had similar personalities, and I also loved and needed and wanted my job, and so I was concerned that if I didn't do what he wanted me to do, that I would lose that job. And some of it was just people-pleasing. I think a lot of times we react to people like that in our lives, and we never stop long enough to even ask ourselves why we're doing it. But most of it is bound up in fear. We're afraid of something.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I had a similar situation. I had a boss before, not in my current job. I want to make that really clear.
Yes, please establish that.
I have wonderful bosses now who I love with all my heart. But anyway, I had this boss, and he was raising his voice at me. And I just got to the point where I said, you can't talk to me like that. And it amazed me because he actually stopped. I mean, he didn't raise his voice after that. And it really did help me understand. Now, I know it does not always go that way.
Sure.
But for me, I realized it seemed like it was his choice. But it was also, like you said, Joyce, partially my choice.
Yeah.
Because when I said, I'm not going to work this way, then I set a boundary, and he agreed to it, which was
and,
wonderful.
To be honest, most bullies really want somebody to stand up to them. They don't respect people who don't stand up to them, and they will keep pushing people around as long as somebody lets them do it. But there's a part of them that's just thinking, I really wish you would stand up to me. And I think any time that you do stand up to someone that has manipulated or controlled you, and I think it's important to bring this point out, you do take a chance on losing something.
Yeah, it's risky.
Because they may not respond in a good way. But even if you lose something, or even if you lose someone out of your life, there's no friendship or relationship that's worth letting somebody manipulate and control you. We're called to be God pleasers, not to be people pleasers.
Yeah.
And I also want to say that the longer you let something like this go on, the harder it is to break the pattern. It's very wise to set boundaries in relationships early on. We have a God-given responsibility to stand up to people in a godly way. And sadly, what a lot of people do that are being mistreated, like I'll take my relationship with my dad as an example, because he sexually, mentally, physically abused me. I began to make promises to myself that nobody was ever going to hurt me again. Nobody was ever going to tell me what to do again. I was never going to get in a position where I needed anybody again. Well, I had made a lot of promises to myself that when I started trying to keep those promises in everyday life, it made it next to impossible for me to have any kind of healthy relationships.
Yeah.
Because you can't live like that. That's why I say in the book, establish boundaries, don't build walls.
Yeah.
Tell us more about the difference between those two.
Well, if you build, let's just say, for example, if you're having an argument with your husband, you're all three married, so I'm sure that surely one out of the three of you have had the experience.
I've never had an argument. I guess just you, Jay.
I have.
Thanks, Jay. One person tells the truth.
On my way to the podcast.
All right.
Let's just say that you're having an argument with somebody, and the argument ends, but you feel like it didn't end in your favor, that the other person, didn't treat you right, they didn't listen or whatever. Well, if you're anything like me and you take the time to sense it, you can feel a wall go up. And the first thing you want to do is get away from them, get in another room, not talk to them.
Yeah.
You just want to isolate yourself and get in a position where they can't hurt you again. And what God has taught me is if I build that wall, I'm the only one that can tear it down. And the only way for me to tear it down is to put my trust in God that He'll take care of me.
That's really
So
important.
instead of trusting me to take care of me. And that doesn't mean I don't confront situations that need to be confronted. But to be honest, you have to have the right timing to confront somebody.
Yeah.
If you just do it when you feel like doing it, it may be the wrong time, and it may not turn out good at all. And I've found that even in my relationship with my husband, if I need to talk to him about something that I think could be explosive, I've learned don't ever do it without praying, and wait till I can sense that the timing is right. And it's amazing what a difference that makes.
I like to also make sure that Mike has had food. He's eaten.
That's a good idea.
Tends to go well when he's not hungry.
Yeah, on a full stomach.
Yeah. That's a very good
But
idea.
so many people have walls built around themselves thinking of protecting themselves. But all they're really doing is isolating themselves, and they're really in a self-care mode. They're going to take care of themselves and make sure that they don't get hurt. But you can't love without taking a chance on getting hurt.
Yeah. So
any one of us that's in a relationship, you will get hurt at some time or another.
yeah, exactly. So that first step, I guess, of tearing down the walls, how important is that to allowing the healing to begin in your life?
Well, I think it's very important. I mean, you can't, if you're isolating yourself, you're not just isolating yourself from the person who hurt you, but you're isolating yourself from God too. You have to let God in. You have to say, well, okay, I got hurt, and I don't think it was fair, but you're my vindicator, and so I'm going to put this in your hands. I'm going to bring this wall down, and you have to know when you do it that you may get your feelings hurt again. And if you do, then you trust God to heal you. We always have the healer living inside of us, and so it's amazing how things change when we start really leaning on God for everything instead of just going to Him for emergencies. I kind of found out if I live like I'm always in an emergency, then I don't have as many problems.
Yeah.
That's good.
One other thing I can say is don't use prayer as an excuse to not deal with things yourself, too.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
so
We
good.
want to pray first,
Yep.
but that doesn't mean that you just sit back and wait for God to change everything.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah,
good.
I'm not done praying. I can't deal with it yet.
Avoiding that confrontation. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, well, what are you going to do about this situation? Well, I'm praying about it. Well, that's good, but has God told you to do something? If you let somebody mistreat you for a long period of time or control you got to realize that you have a part in it and you've established a pattern with them. And so you don't want to go in like a bulldozer and just unload on them all in 5 seconds. Well, you've been controlling me and I'm not going to put up with this anymore. And blah, 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 blah. It's best to just sit down with somebody and say, look, maybe you haven't even meant to do it, but I feel like that I don't really have freedom, that you control and manipulate me. And if it's my fault, I'm sorry, but we just need to establish some new guidelines.
Yeah.
I like the humility in what you say, that we do have a part to play in it ourselves and apologize for what we need to apologize for.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
That's really helpful.
Like I said, not everybody does it on purpose. I mean, some people
Yeah.
are just really strong-willed. And if they have somebody like, I'm very much okay, let's take action and get something done. So let's just say that I go shopping with 5 women, and they're all just, pediddling around and not really, one's going in one direction and one's going in another direction. I don't have to be invited to take over the group and give. Yeah, I'll say, okay, girls, let's do this. Who wants to go here? Who wants to go there? Let's meet back here at such and such a time.
Love it.
Because I can't stand just. Lollygagging around and not, doing nothing. Now, some other people love that, and if you do, don't ask me to go. I have a harder time with that.
Yeah, one of the most freeing things that I remember reading, it was on a post from Instagram, from your page, Joyce, and it was a piece from your Confident Woman devotional about stop pretending, like being okay not having everybody be your friend. Like it's not an unchristian principle, and sometimes we avoid confrontation because we don't want to lose a friend. And if this person is truly your friend, don't you agree that if if they really love you, they'll understand, and you'll come to a mutual agreement and accountability, so you can, ultimately have change. But it's okay to not have certain people be your friend, and that was so freeing to me.
And absolutely, I don't even want friends that aren't going to respect me enough to give me the freedom to be led by the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. It's good.
And to be honest with you, some people you won't be able to be friends with because they just have a strong personality that has not been tempered. They've not allowed God to temper it and bring it into balance, and they really don't know how to be in relationships without being in control. And you're not helping them or yourself by letting them continue in that way. Like I think about my mom, and boy, she should have confronted my dad. She should have done it for herself. She should have done it for my brother. She should have done it for me. But she didn't because she was afraid. And she ended up she never really had a life.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's really sad that, you let somebody else that's just selfish and self-centered steal your life. So, well, I'm sure you girls have got a lot of other good things to talk about. And so,
Well, those are great encouragements. Thank you.
Helpful.
Thank you.
And next time we shop, I'll try to go faster.
Ginger's the one slowing you down.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going out with you Saturday, so now you got to keep in step.
No padiddling around. I will keep it moving.
We'll practice.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you, girls.
Love you.
too,
Bye.
Joyce.
So some of the things that she was talking about are just such great practical, biblical answers to a lot of the things that we deal with.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that do impact our souls, that do create those wounds, are things that we need to be more forthcoming in addressing ourselves.
Sure.
But that is not easy.
Yeah, it's easier to just put up a wall versus just, addressing the issue, because what if the person doesn't like you, or what if they get angry, or what if, it becomes a little tense in the moment, and nobody really wants to be in that position. But like I was saying earlier, it ultimately brings forth, if that person wants to have a resolution, and even if they don't, sometimes you have to confront people that aren't even Christian. Like if it is a secular job, or someone, someone in your family that's not Christian, but it's okay to, like she said, stand up for yourself and be bold in that moment.
Sure. And it's not like all Christians do it right either.
No.
So it's okay if someone's mad at you now and then.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that necessarily, I'm not talking about doing something that's just out there rude, but sometimes people are not going to like what we do and say.
And that's hard.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
One thing that I realized as she was talking just now, and even when I was reading some of this stuff, was how I do that even with my own husband, that I will, if we have a disagreement or something, and obviously I think I'm right, but that's probably not the case. But I can feel, like she says in the book, you can feel yourself put the wall up. And then when it's good for me, then I'll put it back down. And it's like I'm going through a drive-through and I'm pushing my window up and down. Now I'm going to put this up because you made me mad, so I'm not going to let you in. Well, okay, now I'm ready to talk, so I'll put that wall back down.
Because
so
I need to order some fries.
Yes. Let me go get my French fries and my milkshake, and then we can talk.
No, but that's a great example. That's a great visual of how to understand it.
Yeah.
It is kind of at our own whims sometimes. I need protection. I need something from you.
Yeah. I didn't realize how much I would do that, and I know I needed space, when you disagree with someone, sometimes you just need some space. And that's fine. That's healthy.
All right. Yeah.
But I can't do that just because it's good for me or it's working in what makes me happy. I'm affecting my walls, and my up and down of that is affecting him. So
And your kids.
and my kids.
And the other people around us.
Yeah.
Anybody that I come in contact with. Honestly, if I'm upset with whoever it is in life, it often spills over because those walls are seen by everyone.
They are.
Not just that one person that I want to have that wall between us.
Yeah, and then it's easier to go to someone else, and that's not the right thing to do.
To go talk about
it with someone else.
Yeah.
And so one of the principles I like to use is Matthew 18. Like if someone offends you, you have to go to them. Like it's never it's never good to just go and gossip about it and talk about it in pods to other people, because what that does, it stirs up strife, and then it makes people not like other people when you could have just handled that with that one person. And another thing that that I'm learning, this is a process that I'm learning in my healing journey, is to also not seek victory when I go to, to discuss a boundary that I'm setting. Now, I don't want...
That is great. That is an excellent point.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get victory out of it. I'm not to.
I am bad at that because I want to win. I want to win.
I am a winner.
But you're right. I needed that encouragement.
It's like, it's not to seek victory. It's to seek resolution and to seek peace. And understanding, and all you're getting understanding, and that's the goal now that I'm trying to really practice in building boundaries and setting boundaries, because that's something that's been hard for me in the past, is really setting those boundaries, because I did build up walls from things that had happened from the past, and I don't want to continue and perpetuate that cycle. So in building boundaries, when I do have an offense, I don't talk to other people about it first. I go and talk to the person. That Matthew 18 principle is my thing. And then if we don't seek especially if it's Christian to Christian, if we don't get a resolution, then I go and seek some type of elder or someone older than me that has been in the faith longer than me to go to that person again. If you look in Matthew 18, it just kind of tells you how to handle conflict resolution to get to a good, healthy resolve. And so that's just kind of the principle, is not to seek victory and to go to that person.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and listen to a little bit about what Joyce has to say further on this topic, because I think there's a lot more to talk about here. So much. And it's really, really helpful stuff. But when Dave talks about her and Joyce, it's always so helpful and enjoyable, because they're just so funny in their stories. But Dave did have to set really healthy boundaries with Joyce because of the wounds in her life, and it caused her to make a choice. So listen to this.
Well, let me tell you something. Let me finish this story up about Dave real quick. You know what? I'd throw my fits. He'd confront me about something. He didn't do it in a mean way. But I mean, he would just say to me sometimes, "You're not going to control me." "I'm not trying to control you." "Yes, you are." He's like, "You're trying to make me think what you think, and I don't think what you think. I've got my own opinion. So stop trying to convince me." I'm good at convincing, and that's part of my teaching gift. But there's times when it needs to work and times when it doesn't. And I would try to convince him of my way. Well, then, if I didn't get my way, I'd go get my feelings hurt. And I remember him saying to me, "Ooh." He would say to me, "I am not going to feel sorry for you." See? Come on, ladies. He would say to me, "I am not going to feel..." And I thought, you don't even have a heart. You don't feel anything. You don't have any emotions. Don't you know how I was raised? Don't you know what I'm going through? Don't you understand? Come on now. Don't you understand how hard this is for me? And I just can't believe that you're treating me this way. And then I'd go to God, "Why is there always something wrong with me? There are a few things wrong with him, but no, it's always me." Come on, you know how we are. And he would say to me, "Joyce, I love you, but I am not going to feel sorry for you because it is not going to help you if I do." And then he might leave to go play golf. Actually, that happened real frequently. And I would just be there, just like with my soul and my, oh, yeah. And I had a choice. And some of you have got a choice to make today. I had a choice to keep going around and around the same stupid mountain. Round and around the same rocks. Getting in the same stupid traps over and over. going around and around the same mountains, another year in the wilderness. Another year in the wilderness. Or I could let God do what He wanted to do in my life. I could die to self, like the Bible says, so I could really live to and for God. The Bible says that we must die so we can really live. And Paul said, I die daily. And what he meant was every single day of my life, I say yes to God no matter what it costs me personally. No matter how I feel about it, no matter what I think about it, whether I want to or not, I say yes to God and no to everything else. And all I'm really asking you to do in your life is stop saying yes to people when God is saying no in your heart. And stop saying no to people when God is saying yes in your heart. We need to start doing what God wants us to do and stop being people pleasers that are tiptoeing around everything in our life trying to keep everybody else fixed.
I'm going to cross stitch that on a pillow. That's so good.
Yeah. We have a choice to make today.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what she was saying. And what great encouragement that we can choose to stay where we are for our wounds to fester and scar over and become crusty, ugly old things.
Yeah.
Or we can begin tearing down those walls.
Yeah.
Establishing healthy boundaries and letting God do what He wants to do in our lives.
Yeah, yeah. I remember, I know I shared a lot last week about some wounds that I had. And I remember after a few years of being married to Isaiah literally told me, because he would do things that would trigger me, that reminded me that I still had a wound. And I remember him telling me one time, Jay, I cannot pay for the wounds that you still have that are open. I can't pay for those. He's like, the price is too high. I can't afford it.
Yeah.
He's like, that's not, he's like, I can't, but Jesus can.
Yeah.
Jesus paid for it already. So I think a lot of times we want people to pay because we're triggered by something that they say, and then we put that burden of responsibility on that person. It's not like Dave. It wasn't Dave that, like, maybe he did something or something happened that triggered Joyce to think of, it reminded her something that happened with her father, but it wasn't his price to pay, and so sometimes we put that burden on the people we love or friends and, or just random people, and we want them to pay for it. And it's too expensive for them to pay for. They don't have the context. They don't have the it's not theirs to resolve. And so that helped me a lot. And I was like, you're awful. But it was true. I had to walk through my own process of healing and stop trying to make him pay for it. It wasn't his to pay.
Wow.
That's really good, Jay. Hard.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah, that's not something. I love what she says, because no wife wants to hear their husband say that to us in the moment. You want him to say, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You're so perfect and wonderful.
Come here and let me put my arms around you.
And I don't think that's ever happened that way. Always after we can talk about it. But in the moment, it's hard to hear those things, but it's truth. And we can't expect somebody else to take care of somebody else's mistake.
I know that there are a lot of people listening right now too, because of your wounds. You've built some walls up and you've protected yourself. You've protected your heart. And so with what Joyce was saying, if you can start there today by just breaking down some of those walls, that's really a great place to begin. Because in the book, Joyce says that walls of safety create isolation and that it's easier, but it's emptier. And so if you're tired of your life feeling empty, then this is a place to start. And being part of our group, I think, is wonderful too. I mean, listening and studying this together with us and being a part of this group and letting God start that healing process is a beautiful place to begin.
Yeah. You're our friend. Like, just know that you have friends in us, and consider this step one in your healing journey, and just know that we do love you. We pray for you. We're on this journey with you. So
we're doing it together.
We're doing it together. This is a journey, and we're being as vulnerable as possible, not because, this isn't easy. It's not easy to talk about stuff, but we're doing it because we love you and we want to be a part of this journey. So we are your friends. Yeah.
So being with God's help, just walking in love, all the things that we've been talking about, following Ephesians 4:15, to speak the truth and to do it in love when we need to. And that's one beautiful aspect of our healing journey. And we're going to be talking a lot more about this in the next couple weeks. In case you're just now joining us, you can catch up on all the episodes from the first season even of Talk It Out at JoyceMeyer.org/Talk It Out. And we're only a few episodes into this season, so check that out and catch up with us. So next time we're going to have a special guest with us who's going to talk more about guilt and shame. And if any of you know her, it's Lisa Harper.
Love her.
I love Lisa. She is
so funny.
she is so great. And she has experienced this guilt and shame so much that in fact, she told her attacker that if he told anyone about what happened, that she would say he lied.
Wow.
That's kind of like the whole opposite.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But that's what guilt and shame do to us. So you'll hear her story and find out more about that when we all talk together. And don't forget, the Healing Soul of the Woman book is what we're talking about, so you can pick up your copy and follow along with us. And don't forget to listen to all of Joyce's podcasts too, because she just has great teaching. JoyceMeyer.org/podcast. You can find all of the podcasts.
Yeah,
Good stuff
they're
there.
all good.
So homework, we need to leave with homework. That's always important because you can't heal in a 30-minute podcast. You got to do some work on your own.
Yeah.
So start thinking about those boundaries in your life that you need. Start thinking about those hard conversations that you might need to have and pray about them. And I believe that this week God is going to show us all some things and open doors for healthy conversations.
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. And start praying that God begins to prepare their hearts too. As you, even if you practically make a list of some of the people that you need to talk to and just start praying over them and believing the best about the outcome. Don't go in with like, oh, they're going to do this. Cause that's something I used to do. I used to always think ahead and think about the ending.
Plan out the whole conversation.